So, learning targets for today will be to graph a system of equations with a calculator. We're going to be completing a sketch of it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect because we don't have graph paper, just a simple sketch, and then to identify the point in which they meet, and then be able to find that point of intersection on your calculator. We all know that the x and y value is oh so important to solving these, so let's make sure we can find that using the calculator. For the first one, it is set up exactly like we need it. It has y equals for both of these. So y is by themselves. No funny business, no solving. Let's get right to the calculator. So with our graphing calculator, we're going to want to use the y equals function. So the y equals is, sorry, this is being rather stubborn. There we go. Y equals is right here underneath the screen, so go ahead and press y equals, and then enter your two equations exactly as you see them. So you don't have to do the y equals part necessarily, but you do need the 4x. So 4, and then the variable key is right here underneath the mode button. Whenever I press it, it turns red, so that should hopefully help you see what I'm doing. And then minus, or subtracting, 7. So we got the first one in. Let's go ahead and do the bottom one. For the bottom one, it was a negative. So we got to press this button under the 3. If you use subtraction, it will give you an error in your calculator. Then 2, then x, and then add the 23, a rather large y-intercept. So when I go to graph this, I might have a problem. And that problem is I might not see two lines. I mean, I kind of see a part of two lines, but I don't see the full two lines, and I certainly don't see where they intersect. So we want to change the window. So the window button is right here underneath the screen, and standard windows go by 10. 10 left, 10 right, 10 up, 10 down. Now we can change that to change how much we're going to see when we graph this. So because our y-intercept was 23, let's go maybe by 20s. So negative 20, that's 20 to the left. Positive 20, well, that's going to be 20 to the right. You can see how my bottom window here is changing as I enter these numbers because it is changing the left and right distance. I want it to go by ones, so leave that alone. Maybe negative 20 for the y-min, but I'm going to kick it up to 30 so I can definitely see that y-intercept at 23. So I'm really going to change the height of this. Now let's graph it and see that I've got one line with positive slope, another line with negative slope, and I see where they meet, which is excellent. Now, I could maybe just start clicking here, but it's not going to give me any values. Instead, let's press second and trace. Second and trace will bring up our calculating features, which one of them is to find the intersection. So let's do that by clicking down to number 5 and pressing enter. Once you press enter, Spider-Man enters the picture, and so he needs to be brought to where they meet. So because I've got to go to the right, let's scroll on up to the right and go ahead. Once we find where they meet, press enter 3 times. Once for the first line, once for the second line, and again for the point at which they meet at, which, bam, tells you right at the bottom of the screen, 513. Well, let's check this with the calculator I was talking about. See if I can slide this over. Change the size of this so people at home can see. All right. So for this online calculator that I shared with you, and maybe you've got one that's a little bit different, and that's fine as long as you're familiar with working it, do what we just did. Type in the equation, 4. This has a variable x right here, and then it was subtracting 7. In order to type in the next one, you're going to have to create another box. So press below that, and that will create another box to add another equation, this time negative. This time it does not matter that it's a negative or a subtraction, so just minus 2x, and then add 23. Okay? It's much easier to try to find the point of intersection, and that is because you can just use the magnifying glass to zoom in and zoom out. And you can also just click and kind of pull it around to see what you need to, which is where they meet. So for this, how do you find it? You just click on the point at which they meet, and it will tell you that the intersection is 5, 3. So there you have it, a way that you could do this without a graphing calculator if you didn't have one. Why am I using both? Well, we're not quite sure if we're going to have a Regents exam and you don't get a calculator, you don't get a cell phone or a computer on the Regents. So I do have to show you how to do this on the graphing calculator. And hey, maybe next year or the year after, when you're taking your Regents, you'll be more familiar with the graphing calculator. But the computer is a little bit nicer, isn't it? So now let's go ahead and do a quick sketch of this. So we had one line with a negative y-intercept, that was the -7, and a positive slope that went up as it went to the right. The other one had a much larger y-intercept that's way up here at +23, and a negative slope that went down as it went to the right. So remember that these two lines intersected, that's where they met, and that was at 513. So there you have it. You have just solved this system of equations by graphing on the calculator. In the fact that one of these is exactly what we want. We have y equals x minus 4. The other one needs a little bit of work. So I'm going to take you through the process of solving this for y so we can put it in our calculators. Because as of right now, no bueno. No good. So we want to get y by itself. First thing we'd have to do, subtract x. Make sure you show this work on your practice assignment tonight if you'd like full credit. So remember, unlike terms cannot be added, like -x and 37. They're not alike, so don't put them together. Just rewrite them as is, and then go through the rest of this by dividing by 2, and that will get you y by itself. 2 does not go into, let's say, a negative or a -x, so -1x over 2 will stay. And 37 divided by 2 is 18.5. Now, you're not always going to get nice whole numbers with this because these were really meant to be solved algebraically. I'm just kind of showing you a way you could solve or get around that with the graphing calculator. Now, we are ready to go ahead and put this in the graphing calculator. If I went too fast the first time, please don't let that happen again and slow me down. Use your microphone. Say, hey, Mr. Petrie, it's not working. Something's not right. Or type something in the chat so that I know where I can help you, okay? Sometimes it's too little too late if you wait. So using our graphing calculator, go ahead, press y equals, clear out whatever was already put there. And then enter the new equation, which is a variable, so x, and then -4. Once you've done that, click down. Now, how to enter a fraction. I get this all the time. Pay attention carefully. First of all, it's a negative, so you got to use this button down here below the 3. 1, why not? And then the variable key has to go before you divide. Now, dividing this makes the fraction. Kind of looks like a fraction, right, with a little slash. So -1x over 2 is how you would write this. And then we can add the 18.5. Again, any questions on what I'm doing, please stop me now before I keep going. Once that's entered, maybe go ahead, take a quick peek, make sure it's going to fit. One line, looking good. Second line, even better. All right, so now how do we find where they intersect? Again, second trace, okay? Second trace brings up our calculating features. Go down to number 5 or just press number 5. Spider-Man, there you are. Actually, maybe call him Spider-Pig. In The Simpsons one year, Homer called him Spider-Pig as the pig walked on the ceiling. Don't remember the episode that bad, but I do remember him calling him Spider-Pig. So Spider-Pig does whatever a Spider-Pig does and finds itself on the point of intersection where those two lines meet. I'm going to pause real quick because Nick and press second trace. find where they intersect. It graphs the two lines. Spider Pig does whatever Spider Pig does. And once we get to that point of intersection, remember to press enter 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And it meets right at 1511. Let's see it done with the calculator that I provided you a little bit earlier in the chat. So you would click on the 3 dots. 3 dots usually means a lot of things, so we can use the 3 dots to delete the equations that I previously had and now enter the new ones. So this one's going to be x minus 4. So click inside the box. Up pops the option or the keyboard. So x minus 4 is the first one. And then it's going to be negative 1. Then x. Remember, you've got to put it in the top. When you press the division sign here, it makes a nice looking fraction. So that's pretty cool. 2. Now notice I'm in the bottom. I'm in the denominator. I got to get out of there. So press to the right, and then you can add the 18.5. So just make sure it looks exactly like it does on paper. And once you do that, maybe click out of there to make sure it's graphed. I'm not seeing 2 lines, so let's back out. Oh, there we go. That certainly helps. This is just like changing your window. And then remember, click on the point that they meet at, and you should see the same answer of 15 and 11. All right, time to do a quick sketch. So a quick sketch of this is, again, just putting down a y and an x-axis. No graph paper needed. The first one had a negative y-intercept and a positive slope. So let's draw it up and to the right. And then let's channel our inner Bob Ross for this next one. A much higher y-intercept at 18.5, coming down as it goes to the right, negatively sloped. They cross, they meet right here at 15 and 11. Okay? We've got a problem. So when we take a look at these 2 equations, tell me something that you think needs. So we had to solve both of these for y. In the first one, we subtracted 4x on both sides. Do not subtract things that are not alike and leave it as negative 4x plus 28. In the bottom one, subtracted 1x on both sides, divided by negative 1, and yes, got an equation that was solved for y. Time for the calculator. The last time you'll see me do it, so pay attention. Y equals, clear out everything that's there, and then type in the equations of negative 4x plus 28. That's an awful large y-intercept. And how about just regular old x minus 2? Just be careful of when you use a negative and when you use subtraction. Let's go ahead and press the graph button. Let's just make sure we're going to see what we want, which is 2 lines that meet. Yes. Where do they meet? Second trace will help us. And option number 5, intersect. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. All right, bring that Spider Pig to where they meet. And make sure it's right over the 2 lines. Go ahead, press enter, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And yes, it is at 6, 4. Now, for those of you without a graphing calculator, I show you the internet. And one more time with this. Delete, delete. We're going to type in the 2 equations. Negative 4x plus 28. Create another equation by clicking below. I think by now you guys are pretty good with online programs. X minus 2, click below. And again, just kind of move it around so that we can see it. Zoom in, zoom out so that you can see what you need, which is where they meet. Press the magic button and 6, 4, the same answer that we had before. All right. Hey, that kind of rhymed, didn't it? All right, I got 2 seconds to do this, so I'm going to go quickly. Positive 28, really big y-intercept. Negative slope coming down as it goes to the right. And a negative 2 for a y-intercept. Positive slope going up as it goes to the right. A quick little sketch will show us the answer is at 6, 4. Thank you for anyone that was absent that watched this video.